Hello and welcome to VIP Boxing's podcast, Bell to Bell. We're on episode 91. As always, I'm asking you to leave us a review on YouTube, iTunes, whatever. That helps a lot. Gets pushed up. We've been getting some good numbers lately, especially on the clips we put on Twitter. So thank you, everyone who's watching them and listening, watching, whatever you're doing, to be part of Bell to Bell. You know me, Steve Lillis. You know John Evans, his famous posters and his scooter helmet in the background there. You okay, John?
I'm not bad. Not a scooter. Hey, as a matter of fact, I'm doing my bike license at the minute. But that's an American football helmet, that.
All right, American. I did know that, but I always take the mickey out of it. You need Barry Jones, the person that gets very upset when you insult the NFL. No, it's basketball. Very upset. Anyway, this week's special guest, he's one of Britain's top trainers. Amazing we call him the top trainer now because, secondly, we're mentioning what he did as a boxer. It's the former British, Commonwealth and European champion, Jamie Moore. Thanks for coming on, Jamie.
No worries, boys. You okay?
Yeah, good, mate. Is it nice when people call you a top trainer before your titles as a boxer? Or does it tell you you're getting old?
It's weird. Well, exactly. It's bittersweet because it's a compliment and a kick in the bollocks at the same time. So.
Yeah. I know we're going to talk about, John wants to know one of your fighters, particularly later on, but a big week next week for the gym. You're all off to Abu Dhabi, aren't you?
Yeah. So Chantel's boxing Jessica Magasco for the undisputed super lightweight titles. So it doesn't get much bigger than that. And we've got Aqib Fiaz on the undercard as well. So few of us from the team are going out there. Jack Catterall's coming out. So should be good.
Are you taking Nigel out there?
Yeah, unfortunately, Nigel's got to come. We've got it passed by the authorities over there that he's allowed to enter the country, so we're all right.
You have a sweepstake, Jamie, about who gets the plane ticket next to him?
Mate, I just point blank refused. You know, so Mikey's coming over, my son, and they offered me like an upgrade to go in like a higher class, and I said, listen, I'd rather just send Nitri there and I'll stay down with my son to keep us separate.
I pray for everyone in business class, and I think he'll have to be on best behaviour in Abu Dhabi. He can't be pulling down some sheik's pants if he wants to get home.
You can't have Nigel Travis and best behaviour in the same sentence. It just doesn't happen.
Oh, mate. All right, then. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll kick on. You know how this works, Jamie. 3 minutes on every subject. Yep. John's going to start us off with a fight he went to at the weekend. Are you ready, John?
Yeah, ready when you are. Brilliant fight. Mikey Gomez and Brian Phillips. One of these area title fights that we love, and Jamie loves. He's the king of domestic fights, isn't he? The king of the classic domestic fights. But I tell you what, this one was right up there. And Gomez, in fact, I'll start a little bit earlier. In the night, you know when you've got a good fight coming, when the people in the dressing rooms, everyone's picking somebody else. And the people who've got fighters on earlier in the show, they're saying, oh, we're hanging around to watch this. It's going to be a good one. And it picked up all night. People were really looking forward to it. And it lived up to it, God almighty. But Gomez is a wild card, isn't he? He's been around for years and years. He's got that famous name. He's been around the gyms, been around the trainers, been on probably every little promoter, small shows. And he finally looks like he's found his style. He's found that he really wants to do it. He's dedicated. He's fit. And I tell you what, to come through that was a real gut check he went through on Saturday night. You would imagine an title fight would be on a bigger show. And I just wonder if Gomez is ready for a little bit of a takeoff now. Have you been around him, Jamie? What stories have you heard of Mike Gomez Jr.?
So I've seen Mikey Gomez over the years. I haven't actually been around him. I've never been down to the gym sparring and stuff. But obviously I've seen videos of him. I know how he fights, and I knew he was chip off the old block in terms of his dad. Yeah. And Brian Phillips as well. We've had him down the gym quite often. He's been down. He was sparring Frampton years ago when Frampton first came to our gym. So Aqib Fiaz has done a lot of sparring with him recently as well. So I knew he was going to be a real ding dong. Blends of styles. I think those two guys are a typical example of depending on what your style is as a fighter. If you're the type of kid who likes to come forward and apply pressure, they're an absolute nightmare. You're going to be for a hell of a night's hard work. If you're a slickster and you're a boxer from the outside, it's a sort of 50-50. You'll either stay away from them and keep it long and outbox them, or they'll run you over depending on what sort of pace they can set. Yeah. So I just knew it was going to be a great blend of styles, and I've not seen it yet, but apparently it lived up to all the expectations. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen the fight. The footage is on the internet now on British Boxing News. I think have got it up. You know what? The good thing about it, he had 7 fights, I think, in his first 3 years, but in the last 4 years, the penny seems to have dropped with him. Yeah. He started off at Frank Warren, different promoters, been with Dennis Hobson. I think Kevin Marie seems to be settled with Kevin Marie as a manager. Now, I think the English champions, Liam Dillon, now whether reason to give that up, he's just won a final eliminator. If that's the case, he'll have to fight Levi Giles. The only thing that's worried me when I've seen Michael lately, like the old man, is you talk about chip off the old block, is his temperament. I saw him, he had him boxing on a Fight Zone show in Bolton a few months ago against an Argentinian who Campbell Hatton had beaten. The name escapes me. And it was a tough fight for Mike. The Argentinian was rough and tough. And at the final bell, he was really still annoyed with the Argentinian. Was pushing him away, didn't want to know him. And then started kicking his own gum shield into the crowd. And I'm wondering if, I still worry about his temperament, if things do start going wrong. But we had that.
Yeah.
Round 2, Jamie, over to you. Rules and regulations.
No after the bells here, boys. Eh?
Not with this fella. I'm worried about his temperament. Away you go. Jamie, rules and regulations.
Yeah, so my topic I want to talk about, it really annoys me, this, boys. So, and I believe boxing is probably one of the only sports in the world where this happens. So, in a big title fight, so I'll go to the rules meeting in Abu Dhabi with all the governing bodies. Yeah. So you can imagine, I've been involved in boxing 30 years. I should know without even thinking about it. If someone asks me a question about the rules, what happens if there's 3 knockdowns, or if you punch, if you get knocked down and the bell goes during that round. Each governing body has a different rule for that. So every single time one of my fighters weighs in who's involved in a world title fight, I've got to go to a rule or any type of title fight, an international fight. You have to go to a rules meeting and they explain to you which rules it is for that fight. It's insane. Why is there not a universal set of rules for professional boxing and everybody sticks to the same rules? It's like, God forgive me for using some common sense, but why don't they all save themselves at 45 minutes to an hour for every time they're at a boxing show to have to sit down painstakingly and go through the rules? It's insane.
And I couldn't agree more. You bang on. But can I ask you a question? Next week, when you go to the rules meeting in Abu Dhabi for Chantel's fights, I think there's 5 titles on the line, isn't there? What happens there?
Four governing bodies and a Ring Magazine belt as well. Yeah.
Ring Magazine. So 5. So the 4 governing bodies. What happens there? I think the IBF still have they used to have that 3 knockdown rule and stuff like that. What happens there?
Independently, each have a representative and they'll go through their individual meetings. So this is why I'm having anxiety about this frigging meeting, because they always last about half an hour to 45 minutes. God knows how long this one's going to last for the for undisputed title fight. I didn't go to the one for when Jack Catterall boxed Josh Saylor. I sent Nigel for that one. So and now you can understand why. Honestly, it drives me insane.
What? Just before the time goes, Jamie, what's the weight then? Because the IBF have got the second day weighing rule, haven't they? Do you have to live up to that? Is that
as far as I'm aware? And then here we go. This is what I mean. So I'm not 100% on it, but I think as far as I'm aware, the WBC overrules the other ones in terms of the weight the next day. So if the IBF and the WBC are on the line, the next day £10 rule is squashed. They come to an agreement where they say they don't have to do that. It's mental. There should be a universal set of rules which everyone agrees to and everyone knows, so that there's no discrepancies when something happens. So if my fighter gets knocked down and the bell goes, I could, hypothetically go, stay there, because it doesn't matter, because you can't lose the fight because the final bell's gone. Yeah, if it's a different governing body, you can lose the fight.
Madness.
Did the bell go then.
Yeah, the bell's just gone, yeah.
You got your point across very well there. But round 3 for me, guy I think we've praised on here before, Kiko Martinez. It's just, when does the end come for this guy? You know, I was looking today, he's Jordan Gill. He challenges this week, European featherweight. He's been boxing at the highest level for more than 15 years ago. He beat Bernard Dunn, 1 round blast out. You know, Josh Warrington twice, Carl Frampton twice, Kid Galahad, Gary Russell Jr., Leo Santa Cruz, Scott Quigg, and what a win that looks on paper for Scott Quigg. Rendell Monroe, you know, then Bernard John. Now, Jordan Gill, it was 16 and a half years ago. He won his first European title at super bantamweight. All this time on, he's fighting for a European title, just 4 pounds heavier. Now, I know someone who's very close to him in Spain. He trains in Elche, and all he does is live in the gym. I mean, he's like a throwback to the 50s. You know, he's must be the last of his kind left in the world.
Steve, you've just answered the question. You've basically just answered the question in what you just said there. He lives in the gym. So you've got too many fighters nowadays coming to the gym for training camps just to get ready for the fight. So just as an example, the reason why Jack Catterall could perform the way he did against Josh Taylor, even though he was out of the ring for 16 months, was because he does his job. He's in the gym training like a professional fighter should be. There's too many fighters out there who go on the missing list for 2 months, 3 months after the fight, go on the party and, you know, go and enjoy themselves, and then get a date for the fight and then turn back in the gym. You can't get ready in 12 weeks when you've not been taking over in between. In fact, 12 weeks is too long when you're a professional athlete and you're training all the time. If you're ready in the gym all the time and your weight's at a decent level, you only need 6 to 8 weeks. You don't need 12 weeks. You need a full 12 weeks when you're coming in out of shape and when your timing's out and stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, John, you never got in there,
Don't worry
John.
about it. We spoke about Kiko a lot, haven't we?
But you're going to get in here, John. It's your super featherweight surprise package.
Yeah, two of my favourite people, in fact, in boxing, the people I like, Aqib Fiaz, Jamie, and his brother Hassan. Two great people. Really, really
beautiful people. Beautiful people.
And he burst on the scene a little bit, didn't he? Really good on them VIP shows. I still love that win over Ben Fields when he was up in weight on a day's notice. Yeah. And then through the problems he had with his mum dying in COVID and stuff, his stars just dimmed a little bit. Yeah. Well, through the super featherweight rankings, Aqib was watching Mikey Gomez very closely on Saturday night. There's some real top elite guys. We've got Zelfa, we've got Dil Magani, you've got Cordina. They're at the top. But in that middle group, you've got people like the Piranha Ghana, you've got Amin Jahanzeb, you've got Gomez, you've got Aqib. And I just wonder if now his problems are behind him, he seems settled, his weight looks really good, he's getting back on the big shows. I just wonder if we're going to see his full potential and if Aqib Fiaz could be the dark horse in this super featherweight division.
Absolutely. I don't even think he's a dark horse, to be honest, John. I think you're right. He had to take his foot off the gas and just do what he had to do, obviously because of what happened with his mum and stuff, which was a horrendous time for the family, you can imagine. Yeah. So he's had to come through that. He's had to do the right thing and go away from it a little bit, get himself in the right place first. We got him on a Steve Wood show just to ease himself back in. Then he's boxed on Eddie's show in Sheffield and he had a good win. Yeah. So you know, it's not like he was out of the gym and stuff. The same thing, you know, even though he was out of the ring, he wasn't out of the gym. He was always in the gym. Just had to sort of take a bit of time to himself to regroup and sort of let himself heal up a little bit. But listen, I love them people. Them Aqib and Assam, the whole family, I love them to bits. They're like my family. And, you know, he's been with us 4 years now. I really believe he can break through this year. Early next year, I'd expect to see him in a 10-round title fight of some sort. And we've matched him in a way where we've made sure he's learnt lessons along the way. He's not been just through him with any old journeyman so we can bash him up but he's got no stoppages. He could have easily had 4 or 5 stoppages if we'd have put him in with your typical journeyman. But we've made sure he's got lessons along the way. And when he steps up now into these more difficult fights against some of the prospects like that, he'll be more than ready to take that step up. And as you know, you mentioned the weight there. That was a bit of an issue. He wasn't doing it quite right. We've got a proper nutritionist on board now who's helping him. And honestly, this is by far the best camp he's had. So I really expect him to shine this time.
That's why I'm smiling there, Jamie. Was when he fought the journeyman you found him, the little Nicaraguan who was about 5'4". He boxed on Steve's show at Salford, and he's actually about 3 foot tall the way he boxes, isn't he? I can't. The guy's name escapes me, but he's here every week. I should remember it. And that night, and also I can't remember, but I felt for him that his first fight in ages, and you've dug that guy out for him. I thought you're doing Mooresy's doing him no favours straight away.
No, he's been good.
Never going to stop him.
He had the fight with Fields, and he had that little war in Oldham Sports Centre where all his mates packed it out, and he fought like an idiot.
Yeah,
yeah. He's been really good to watch, but I love
exciting.
Sam's the top lad, so I want to see him do well.
Yeah, exactly. That Nicaraguan was tough as all boots, and he hit him with about 76 uppercuts in the whole fight, and he still couldn't get him out of there.
That poor guy's every week. Right, Bell went there. Oh, we overplayed. John's going to get angry now. Round 5, over to you, Johnny. Sorry, Jamie, it is this time. The women fighting 3-minute rounds.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate. So as we've seen the other weekend, women's boxing's flying at the moment, and you know we're getting to the point now where we're talking about a fight. What happened at the weekend generally doesn't matter now, whether it's a man or a woman. You can just talk about it being a great fight and then just mention who is involved in it. The only thing I feel what's holding it back from becoming a level playing field in terms of men's fighting is, well, first of all, because it's sort of still evolving, the depth of quality isn't quite there yet, but it will attract more people, I believe, when you get shows like we had the other weekend and when it becomes a level playing field with the lads. And that can only happen when they're doing 3-minute rounds, because you're always going to get the argument then is, you know, we can't pay the women that much because they're not doing the same amount of rounds or the same length of rounds as the men. And I don't see why not. I really don't get it. We've actually asked a couple of times for Chantel since she's been world champion about doing 12 threes. We've always been knocked back. So we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep knocking on the door because I think it's vitally important if we're going to get to the stage where it's not even a question about women's boxing and men's boxing. It's just a level playing field outright. It has to be everyone's on the same page. And in that sense, it's got to be 3-minute rounds.
Yeah, I've interviewed quite a lot of female boxers not on this particular, but I've always asked this question and they have been pretty mixed, but surely the way to do it is how a lot of boxing was, and I'm sorry to hark back to the 80s and stuff. You'd go to a small hall show in the 80s, obviously exclusively men boxing. You would get 3 or 4 2-minute rounders on it, and the better fighters fight in 3-minute rounds. Now, surely that's the way to go with the women, instead of more exclusively fighting 3-minute rounds like we have with the men now.
Well, I thought about this.
Put some at 2 and some at 3, the elite. You graduate to that.
Exactly. So as it's still evolving, I don't think it'd be fair to throw everyone in, but certainly from title level up, you've got to be talking 3-minute rounds, and that means that any woman who is coming through who is deemed to be a good prospect who's progressing, but by the time they get to doing, if they're doing 2-minute rounds, they're doing 8 twos, the next step should be right. Okay, 6 threes, and then anybody who's a world champion, if you're not capable of doing 12 threes, in my eyes, that's the whole point of being able to be a professional world champion. You've got to be able to do it. So if a woman is in a situation where she goes, I can't do 12 threes, well, without being disrespectful, you shouldn't be involved in the conversation about being a world champion. You have to go back, learn your shit, because I believe it's all about, tactics, learning how to navigate it. All those little ingredients, your conditioning and stuff like that, are all part of being a world champion. It's not just about who punches harder, or who can fight, who's the fittest, or who can do 10 twos at the highest pace. There's more of the skill ethic to being able to do 12 threes.
Yeah. 2 things, Jamie. MMA, it's not a problem. They do 5 5s for the championship fights.
Yeah.
They do 3 5s.
Yeah.
That's hard work, isn't it? But the other one, if say, for example, Chantel and McCaskill, they built their careers to this undisputed fight on 2-minute rounds. If they'd come to you and said, for the biggest fight of Chantel's life, we'll do 10 threes.
Yeah.
Would you have said, yeah, we'll do it? Or would you think...
Absolutely. We asked for 12. We asked for 12 threes, yeah.
Because it's a big... Having built a career on 10 twos, that's a big step for the biggest fight of a life, isn't it?
And listen, we sort of half knew that we was never going to have it. But it's more for the fact that I know Chantel can do it. I've seen her do it week in, week out in the gym. I actually have to drop off from doing 3-minute rounds round about midway through camp to make sure that her tempo doesn't drop slightly, to make sure she's got that higher tempo for 2-minute rounds. She does 3-minute rounds in the gym with the lads all the time, and it's not an issue. And that's what I'm saying. You know, the best of the girls out there, I think they're doing themselves a disservice by not doing it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I'm sure we've overrun there, but that was brilliant as always, Jamie. Thank you very much for that impassioned plea, shall we call it? Right, final round. That boxers, can fighters become bigger than the sport? And what I'm referring to is someone like Tyson Fury. The fact to fight, his fight with Derek Chisora, his third fight, has done 50,000 tickets, it's claimed. I just find it staggering when you think they fought twice before, and I was at both fights, and he's barely won a round, Derek.
No,
in them fight, maybe a couple in the first fight at Wembley, which Mick Hennessy promoted, when Dell, well, we'll say, got into the ring in terrible shape that night. But he hardly won a round there. You know, are we becoming more and more what MMA was, or it still is to a certain extent, an internet sport for most of it, and these 3 or 4 fighters in the country who are becoming bigger than boxing? Do you think that's a fair comment, Jamie, that some fighters are bigger than the sport, like Fury?
I think
when he does this sort of business.
Yeah, sometimes the name carries more weight than the actual fight. I agree with that. I'm very sceptical when people come out and say they've sold 50,000 tickets within the first few hours, because, and I'm not saying there's not 50,000 tickets gone out. I'm not saying that. And Tyson Fury, without a doubt, is one of the biggest draws. We've seen that with his fight against Dylan White. You know, because you don't sell that many tickets without being a huge draw. He's such a big character. But you have ticketing agencies who will take a massive bulk of tickets, you know, for profit, and then they'll resell them. So I've no doubt 50,000 tickets have gone out, and I've no doubt there'll be 50,000 plus there on the night. But it's very much of a it's like virtue signal, you know. He's throwing words out there just to get a reaction. Whereas, you know, I don't think it needs that. Tyson Fury sells himself massively. I tell you what, though, I'm surprised 50,000 people want to go and stand outside in December. Jesus Christ!
I was going to say, I'll tell you what, it's a test, isn't it? You know, if touts have had 50,000 tickets and it's sleeting and snowing in December, we're all going to get stung.
Long johns or something like that.
And that ground, trust me, I was there the other week watching Fulham play. That ground, that stadium, is one pain in the arse to get to.
Yeah.
You're half an hour walk from a tube station, and Seven Sisters Road in the middle of December, half-hour walk at midnight, isn't going to be very nice for those fans. But you know, that's why I think, you know, there's people in this sport, AJ, Fury, they almost become bigger than what the sport is in this country.
Yeah, people go for the event, don't they? In the
experience. This is it. They go. It's almost
that's
like, you know,
it's literally an event rather than a fight. That's what I believe it is. And do you know what? I said this the other day. I don't begrudge Del Boy this fight at all. He's been such a great servant to the sport, such a character. And even though I would have rather have seen, you know, an AJ Fury fight, for instance, I don't begrudge him it. And you know, if this is Tyson Fury's way of saying to him, there you go, son, go off into the sunset with a few quid in the bank, then I don't begrudge him that at all.
It reminds me something of this, you know, the way these people follow these fighters, AJ and Fury. I remember years ago when Chris Eubank used to fight in Manchester, and Barry Hearn once said to me once, and you know, look, Barry's is fantastic, you know, and it always stuck me. He always says a lot of these cities like Manchester, and he meant it with the greatest respect. Manchester's a big village. When Eubank comes to town, if one person buys, everybody wants to buy. And it's almost like this what you were saying about what the event it is.
Yeah,
exactly. Just want a night out. That's all they want, is a night out in Manchester.
Well, I tell you, we're nearly out of time now. We've got a minute left to record. Jamie, any final thoughts of you?
No, I enjoyed that, boys. It was nice, but let's push home this message for women 3-minute boxing. I think we're doing them a disservice, and I think it's the right thing to do. And you're right, it needs to be done in stages and edge it up from 2s to 3s. But the top level women, the elite level, they should be doing 3-minute rounds.
Brilliant, Jamie. John, we'll give you the final word this week. John,
no, I agree. Everything, it flew by that. Good topics there, and Jamie was dynamite, wasn't he? So yeah, it was good that.
But next time we'll get you on in 2 or 3 months. I've got to get Travis with you and maybe extend it to an hour or something.
Let's do it as a duet next time, mate. You'll have to do 5-minute rounds though, because I'll rip into fucking shreds.
I tell you what we'll do. We'll do it for our Christmas one. The week before Christmas, we pack up for 2-3
We'll do
weeks.
like a Christmas special. We'll not do rounds. We'll just have a fucking proper good chat and we'll rip fuck out of each other.
That's what we'll do. We're going to do that for Christmas. So I'll give you the date in a couple of weeks, Jamie, and we'll do that.
Sound. No worries, boys.
Thanks for coming on, fellas, and thanks everyone for watching and listening. Bye-bye for this week.
For all boxing info, news, and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.